Into record. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us this month. We got some heavy hitters on the line. The topic of this Taylor Talk show is don't just show me the money, teach me how to get it. A lot of times people are saying, show me the money. How can I get to where you're at? But a lot of times people would prefer for you to do it versus teaching them. And often I go back to that quote when it was like, if you get somebody a fish, you can show them how to eat for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, you can show them how to eat for eternity. So I'm talking with these individuals who's going to teach us how to get it. But first, let's go to our video and we are going to get started. I hope you are ready because we ready to jam. I feel like we got our little delay in here.
Show me the money! Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money! Show me the money! I need to feel you, Jerry! Show me the money! Jerry, you better...
Y'all remember what show that was off of?
Was that Jerry Maguire?
Jerry Maguire, right?
Yeah, it was.
He's like, show me the money. Right. So we're gonna go to Megan. Megan, if you can let us know what you do in the world of worlds of Megan.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Saquana. I am Megan Schwan. I own Sidekick Accounting. We empower owners to understand and use their numbers to grow profitable and successful companies through bookkeeping, tax preparation, and tax planning services. And when I'm not doing my business, I am a single mom of 4. So my business is my livelihood, which is really what drives our passion as a company as well, to help other people be able to provide for their families, because so many of us are doing that when we have a small business. So really helping people be profitable and successful is really important to be able to provide for your family, but also your community and your future. So
absolutely, definitely, because if you ain't providing for your family, boy, it's a hard enough life, right?
It is.
You have to think about different ways of investing and making money. I got 4 too, so I understand that's no easy. Jesus. Okay. So now I'm going to kick it over to Nikisha. Tell us who you are and the great things that you do.
Yes, hi, I'm Nikisha Adams. So I am the CEO and founder of Scribble Inc. Scribble Inc. is a nonprofit consulting company that assists companies, small and large, with not only grant writing, but fund development, strategic planning, and board development. We currently have clients in 9 states and 1 country, and I am in the Mommy Club as well. I'm a mommy of 5, so...
Got us beat.
Yes. Listen, Nikisha said I don't win 1 up, so I'm definitely putting in some work. Definitely great grant writer. I definitely had her write a couple of mine as well too. Make sure you guys reach out to both of them, Megan, because if your taxes ain't right, listen, don't nobody want to play with the IRS. I know I definitely don't. So make sure your money ain't funny and your taxes is legit. And then go to Nikisha if you need some grants monies. So I'm going to kick it over to Lamont. You last, but absolutely not least. Tell us what you do.
I'm Lamont Smith, owner of Credit Guy MKE, Credit Guy MKE Financial Solutions, where we teach people financial literacy and how to build their credit up to go get the bag, right? I'm all about using other people's money, y'all. And when I say other people, I mean the bank's money to do what it is I need to do to build generational wealth for my family, right? I'm married of 10 years as of yesterday, I think, right, honey? 10 years. So we in Cabo now. Yeah, we celebrate now. But I wasn't gonna miss this for nothing. So yeah, That's me.
Thanks, Lamont. And definitely when we talk about credit, a lot of people think, hey, if I can just get something off of my credit report, I'll be good. Or if I can just do this, but you have to continue to maintain it. And when he say using somebody else's money, I'm glad you threw in there legally, because somebody might have thought we was talking about something else, because I don't got no money for you. But I definitely use some of his tips that worked immediately, right? And so even if you know something, that don't mean you know everything. And I'm a forever learner, right? So I want to learn each and every day for the rest of my life. So if somebody else knows something that I don't, I gladly accept it and utilize it for my best. So let's just kick it off when we say, hey, a lot of people say, show me the money. Like, Lamont, I want to see who money you using, and I want to see your network, right? But in you showing me your money, that's not really going to help me. It may either motivate me, and say, let's keep it real. For some people, it may make them envious. Correct?
Exactly.
But we have to find a way that we're teaching people how to get there. And even though they may not be in the same lane as we are, that doesn't mean that they can't create their own lane, right?
Right.
And so, Lamont, when you say a credit repair company, and getting the bag, right? Because I understand that language as well too. Okay, so I'm somebody, you talking about credit. I'm gonna just use a number. I got a 650 credit score, right? I don't got a lot of things on there. I got some things. I really don't utilize credit cards. I don't really think I need credit cards. Whatever I want, I pay for, right? So could you tell me what's the importance of leveraging your credit score along with getting credit, somebody else's money, to help you maintain what you need?
Right. So a lot of times, a lot of us didn't come from money, right? So 80% of the things that we do, our biggest purchase, we would need credit, right? When we talk about going to get the bag, if you don't have a credit card, you're missing 50 to 100 points on your credit score, as far as data points, right? So you have to add things to generate those data points. So let's say you at a 660, right? You may have a couple collections or whatever it may be. I would actually do, I would backdate a letter for 2 weeks, right? And I send that in first class mail, and then I come back with a demand to comply letter, right, to get those negatives off, right? That one will be certified, right? You want that one certified because you want to make sure that they get it. They get the receipt and things like that, right? So now you taking off the negative, but a lot of times we don't teach people the education part of credit, right? We just say we can delete anything on your credit report. Well, 9 times out of 10, deletions don't mean your score gonna go up, y'all. Right, and that's where credit repair people and people with credit get a black eye in the community, right? In Milwaukee, and I'm always big on home. So Milwaukee, we had a 633 amongst us all, right? But every outskirt area is at 750. You know what I mean? 790. We have to do more in our community, right? We always look at stuff as a scam, but that's only because we sell deletions instead of education of credit, right? If I educate you on how to boost your score and maintain it, then you'll always be there and I won't see you again. You get what I'm saying? But if I get you to a 720 and I ain't taught, I haven't sat down with you and taught you budgeting and how to budget money, because that's number one, right? And if I haven't taught you that, you will be back to me in another year because you done wrecked your credit because you know how to budget. You don't know how to budget money. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So a lot of times,
and so ladies chime in,
time out to teach them.
What I liked about what you said as far as educating people and knowing how to use credit. I'm a big person. Like, I like to use my credit because I want my points.
Exactly.
I want to be able to redeem for things. But, upon the education piece, it's also important to know that if you have a credit card, paying it off. If I charge anything, I'm paying it off in full, before that next statement comes. I want to make sure I'm maintaining my credit responsibly. And I think, like you said, Lamont, is that education piece. You can get people to that level as far as, I got my first credit card. But if people don't understand budgeting and how to act responsibly, then having that first credit card is going to do nothing when it's maxed out and that credit score is back low again.
Exactly. And with credit cards, you can do so much, right? We take free trips. I wear free designer clothes. It's a lot of stuff you can do with good credit, but you just got to be responsible with it. You get what I'm saying? You have to pay them people their money back, y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's not your money. So you know what I'm saying? Like, you really have to pay them their money back. So I would say this. I'm gonna use me. I have one credit card that I use for all my house bills. You get what I'm saying? The We Energy bill, the car, Whatever it
Ooh,
is,
we
it goes on that
interesting.
card. Why? Because I have the money to pay that. I have to pay that anyway.
Right.
I might as well get cash back rewards
Right.
for paying my bills. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So a lot of times we do stuff and we say, man, I got some extra money. No, you don't, bro. Just pay your bills. Pay them people back. But that do one or two things.
Right.
That's going to increase your limits because
Yeah.
they're not going to mind giving you limit increases because you pay your balances back and forth.
Right, because you're showing
what I'm saying?
you're worthy of the credit, that
showing it.
credit worthiness. They're showing that you know how to handle it responsibly. So we're going to
Right.
reward you.
So I'm sitting here with 600, probably a little more, 667,000 in credit cards.
$500,000
Easy.
credit card.
Right? Easy. And my goal,
Yeah.
my partner say I got to hit 1 million, but I'm not doing that for show. I actually use them.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And pay them back.
He don't use the whole 600,000 piece. He know about credit utilization, right?
Yeah.
We want to
Hey,
make sure that
listen,
people
no,
say
first-
you go give them
Well-
that,
well-
they gonna go off and buy a
first
house.
But
of
as
all,
long as you're paying it back, that utilization rate is going to stay low anyway.
It's gonna stay low. But I don't use no personal cards. I use that one card I told you guys about, but I use all business because Credit Guy MKE, that is Lamont Smith. So he gonna take care of me. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Mhm.
So that's why business credit is so important. It can take you levels that personal credit can't.
Mhm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And just understanding that. And so, Megan, you being the tax person and helping making sure that people, while they're talking about using this credit and having their credit together, that they're also not crossing those lines, right? Because a lot of times you can see people say, hey, I know how to get you back some money on your taxes. You can just do X, Y, and Z. And then they get this letter and they're mad at the person. And so tell us a little bit about how we know it's great for your business and your personal credit too. But when it comes to making sure that X, Y, Z is right and your T's and I's is crossed, how do you come in and help people make sure that they stay on the legal side of things and not behind them bars?
Yeah. And I mean, similar to what Lamont was saying, like a lot of people, especially in the minority communities, like we think that some of this stuff is taboo. Like it's too good to be true. It's a scam. But the same thing is true with tax law. So tax law is actually written to benefit businesses. And you have to do strategic, holistic tax planning, which most accountants unfortunately do not do or have the knowledge of doing it. But when you can tap into those things, you're able to stay in the legalities area and compliance, but also be able to leverage your business to benefit you individually as well as your family. So that's one of the reasons why we started doing that, because so many small businesses miss that piece. And it really is another step to building wealth, to building, this generational knowledge, and education, which is really important. And a lot of us miss that just because we don't know, right? We hear about all of these big business owners and tycoons that have all of this benefit and that they're able to leverage things. And, one of the big reasons, kind of going back to like the credit and using other people's money, like when the talk about Trump came up a couple years ago about his tax bill, the reason why is because those guys have their asset value is made up of property. So they leverage mortgage loans, they leverage loan money to live.
Yes.
And it's not just cash in the bank. And that's where we kind of miss that piece of it. And even just like too, with tax planning isn't all just retirement. Like there's leverages that there's strategies, that you can leverage to keep cash in your pocket now, where you can reinvest it, but then you can also put it into other things as well, like other businesses or properties or whatever that might be, to grow your overall what am I trying to say, value. What do they call
worth?
Yeah, thank you, net worth. Yep. So there's ways to do it legally, but with taxes and tax planning, like most of the stuff related to that comes back to documentation and having the burden of proof. So the burden of proof is on you when you talk about business deductions and what you can take, and there are strategies you can leverage, and you got to have the proper documentation in place. But as long as you have mostly those two things, you're able to do a lot with your business. So I'm all about education, because that's really how we're going to bridge the gap, especially with the minority communities, because we miss out on too much.
Absolutely. And so when I think about it too, Nakisha, we think about the grant writing piece, right? And the loans and how to effectively write a grant so that you're putting stuff where it needs to put. And a lot of times people think you have to be this great writer, right? you should be able to write and formulate words so that it sounds coherent, but also you're putting on there what people are looking for. I've seen people sometimes they overwrite grants, right? And so they think if I put more words, it's great, but necessarily they don't want to read through all of the fluff. So what is some advice, or tell us a little bit more what you do with the grants or loans that you apply for, but what is some good advice for a person who is either seeking to be a grant writer or someone who's looking for a grant writer? What should they look for in that person?
Well, and it's funny that you say that because I just taught a class at Concordia yesterday on grant writing. And the purpose of the class is not to prepare the world for the next great grant writer, but it's so people can understand what it takes to, write a grant effectively or to work with a grant writer. A lot of times people jump into grant writing without understanding that their organization needs to be in order. So there are certain I's and T's that need to be dotted and crossed before you can even approach a grant. A lot of times people get so excited about starting their company. They're like, I'm about to go look for me some grant money and get all this grant money. But, they have this board of directors that's not really capable of being a board of directors. There's financial pieces that are missing, expense statements and, profit and loss statements. So it's really about educating people first and making sure that everything is in order with the organization before you have to talk with the grant writer or start looking at grants. The other piece is look for grants that are in line with what your company is doing, but also in line with what the funder is doing. A lot of times people are so happy to go get grants. They start looking at grants and then you're looking at them. You're like, wait, your program is youth services. Why are you trying to write for agriculture?
Yeah.
So, taking time to educate them on, what funder requirements are and making sure they really meet those requirements before applying, because the last thing you want to do is waste your time, a grant writer's time, or the funder's time.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And like I said, that's a great thing because like you said, some people are writing grants and it doesn't have anything to do with your program. It doesn't even go with your values and mission. And then you're wondering what's happening, right? And so that's why you do that. I think that board of directors piece is so vitally important.
Extremely important. People don't understand how important it is. I had a client who was literally afraid to get sick or go on vacation because she didn't trust her board of directors to do anything outside of her not being there. I'm like, why are they there? You have 12 people who are responsible for your organization and none of them are capable to lead the organization. So what does that say about them? Or what does that say about you because you put them there? You mentioned something else good. People like to write. And one of the things that I stress is providing context over content. So a lot of times people like to give so much content without any context behind it. So, in the world now where, everything is streamlined and is online, a lot of times you'll come across grant applications that say, tell us the need in 300 words or less. And that's because funders don't want to have to filter through 2 pages to really understand the importance of your program or why the program exists. So, getting people in the habit of really trying to get to the root of the ask, and also, educating people on coming from a mission standpoint versus a money standpoint, especially when you're a nonprofit. A funder doesn't want to see that you're
asking nuggets.
Right. You're asking for money. They know you're asking for money because you're writing to them, but they want to know, why is this so important that even if we can't fund you, you're going to find a way to get it done? What does this program mean to you? And then it's also about building relationships. A lot of times I tell people, not to get discouraged if you apply for a grant and you don't get it, because there's so many other things that go into grant writing outside of just a well-written proposal. You're competing against other organizations. You also are competing with organizations who are already established a relationship with the funder. Sometimes grant writing is about not what you're doing, but it's political. It's about the people and on the other side of that table. So it's important about establishing relationships and making those connections, and if you don't succeed the first time, come back the next cycle and re-enter, because now you're on that funder's radar and they're kind of intrigued, like, hey, your organization is still around. You managed to get it done without our assistance. Let's, see what you're really about and why this organization is so important.
Well, I think I just found my grant. I just found my grant writer. I'm sorry.
I believe in bring people together. Listen, I've been listening to Megan like, hey, I might need to talk to you a little bit. But
Yeah.
I love when you said from a mission and not a money standpoint, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, you're in business to make money, but there are some people that's in business and that's all that they're doing. And I usually say your passion leads to your purpose that then produces your paycheck, right? Because if it's
Right.
something you're really passionate about, that to me, that's
Right.
your purpose in life.
Yep.
And that's going to
Yep.
produce the money that you need. But there's a lot of people that's doing it just to do it. And this isn't a knock on them, because if you're making it happen, kudos to you. I give kudos to everybody, but also that mission. So if you have a business or a nonprofit, or you doing something, but if you're looking at it from that money standpoint and not that mission, what are you really in it for? And don't get me wrong, we all want to make money because our bills ain't
Right.
gonna get paid because you think you look cute today. Let's just be realistic or handsome. But if you're not connecting to that mission, right? If I can't
Right.
understand what your mission is, because I can't
Right.
even waver through all of the words that you're saying because you want to sound so professional and profound.
Exactly.
I don't know what your mission is. I just know
Right.
you wrote me this fluff of 600 words and I never
Yep.
found out how it tied to your mission.
Right.
So that's very important. And then when you went back, Lamont, you were talking about grant writing and then leveraging your credit, right? And so if you can just, and I'm gonna have you all do this, share a little bit of your story, because when I have people on here and they talk about, hey, I'm at a 750 or $500,000, people are looking and say, oh, that's great for you, because they don't understand that, hey, it took being out in the rain to get to where you're at now. It took making some ramen noodles. And so they see the glory side of some of the stuff we do, but they don't always see the trials and tribulations. And I try to be transparent in sharing mine, because a lot of times people will look at me or now they'll read my book and they'll be like, whoa, we didn't know you had all that going on, because I still smile and waver through. Hey, but it's times now when I be like, hey, Lamont, I need this tip. Something just hit. It ain't going right over here. What I need to do. So if you can take us through, like, how did you become the credit guy? What inspired you to do that? And how you got to where you at now, so it helps somebody out there that's saying that could be me.
So for me, it started, to be honest with y'all, my wife always made more money than me, right? So I went from I was a correctional officer first, social work and, things like that. But in between that, I was working a security job, making $10.75, right? So after paying rent, I only had 65 cents left in my bank account. And I remind y'all, I don't know if I said it, but I got 6 kids, right? 65 cents is a struggle, right? So what do you do
so
with
he
that?
just one-upped me.
I know.
That's how that went. Full circle moment.
Right. So what do? You got to figure out something to bring to the table. Yeah, I was able to help her, you know what I'm saying, as far as bills and things like that. But going on dates and all that, she used to slide me her card underneath the table, right?
Right.
So that's that, like,
long haul.
Right. So she really stuck with me, right? So it was just me wanting to do more. So I started studying on my own and things like that. I had no intentions on trying to provide this for people, because ever since I was 2, I had a speech impediment, right? So this is huge for me to even get up in front of people and talk now, whatever it is. It's all God, just taking my tongue and making it straight. Hey, son, you go do what it is I called you to do. You get what I'm saying? So me stepping out and doing things like this or whatever, it's still a struggle for me, but I'm doing it because this is my purpose. You get what I'm saying? So I started working on my credit. It was like 530. I got it to 684 in a matter of 4 months, right? And all I did was what I tell my people: I take off all old addresses, variations of my name and things like that, because there's only one Lamont Smith. It ain't nothing else got to go in between that. Right. So I'm taking off old addresses, variation of my name, because that address, and people don't know it, is tied to a collection. Right. And with the naked eye, you can't see it, you know what I'm saying? But it's tied to a collection. Right. So I started doing that, started cleaning stuff up, because you want to clean your credit report up. The credit score don't matter much, because, again, like I said, my goal is always to get the bag. And in order to get the bag, that credit file got to be nice and thick. You got to have at least 10 accounts on there. So I started adding accounts. Right? Taking accounts off, adding accounts. That's how you boost your score. I'm sitting at an 821 now with 667,000 in credit, right? And that's just one business. That's just me and the credit guy. Well, I actually own a cleaning company as well. You get what I'm saying? So it's just it takes time, but you got to add positive items. A lot of people get stuck on, hey, I paid this person this money and they ain't doing nothing. My credit ain't moving. Well, that's because they're not telling you the
Right.
education part of it, that you in control of boosting your credit score, not me. So if I call you and say, hey, we're going to add a Boom Pay account, which is $2 a month, they're going to give you 36 to 45 points on your credit. You know what I mean? Or we're going to add a self-lender, they're going to give you 45 points. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times we don't do that. We just focus on deleting stuff on people report, right? So it took some time, but for me to come out, I paid somebody. Actually, for me to get to this point, I just spent $17,000 to $20,000 on me, on developing me, right? We all should do that, not spend that type of money. But what I'm saying is, you always should spend some money on developing you or the craft you say you in, right? This is my craft. I don't have a job. I don't work a job. This is what I do. So I'm gonna spend money on what I do because I want to be the best at what I do.
Yep.
Right?
Investing in yourself.
You got to invest in you.
And I have
a
to
lot
give
of times-
kudos to Lamont and Megan, because you guys are in fields where, like you said, Lamont, you know, you have a stigma attached to the fields that you're in because people are so used to taking shortcuts and doing things the easy way. And my cousin gonna let me file her kids, or I
Yep.
know somebody to do taxes and they gonna
Yep.
give me all this money back, or I know somebody is gonna take this stuff off my credit. So you're dealing with, you know, the society that wants everything right away, the easy part, and you're competing with, no, I'm not just going to give it to you, but I'm going to educate you so you keep it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole key.
Absolutely.
I was just
Go
going to
ahead, Megan,
say,
I'm sorry.
it's totally a mindset shift. You know, like even when we talk to our business owners, we start talking to them about paying themselves on a schedule, even if they're not on salary, because it just shifts your mindset from being just an owner to being a CEO. And really to get to those levels, you do have to have this mindset shift, because it's not just about cutting edges. Like paying taxes is actually good. It means you made money. Like staying in poverty, yes, you're going to get those big refunds, but that's not where we want to stay. We don't want to stay in that. We want to get to that next level, up and above middle class. And there's ways that you can do that, but it requires a mindset shift and to look at things differently, and then being able to leverage things like your credit and your taxes and your business and grants that are available to be able to use the resources that are available to us.
I always tell a lot of clients and things like that, I tell them we have to decide, right? I use decide, commit, execute. If you decide, like I decided to open a business, a lot of us do that, but we don't commit to that business. You get what I'm saying? Therefore, we never execute.
Yeah.
We never execute because we never committed. You have to commit to something.
To it. And I'm going to go.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I'm going to go to this quick tip called Scratch Money. And when we come back, I want to hear from Megan and Nakisha about your past and your present, how you got to your now. But let's click this really fast. And if y'all don't know, it's always like a 10-second delay. So when y'all see the video, y'all probably notice it when we're just the FYI. And so right before we go to Megan, I was just thinking about what Lamont was saying when he was saying, hey, I had to invest in me. And Nakisha said, yes, a lot of times we can invest in everybody else, but when it comes to us, we don't invest. And it was a list, and I might show it through the screen, but it was saying, hey, and don't get me wrong, if people love iPhones, an iPhone costs this, but to do professional development for yourself costs this. To invest in this, you can pay this, you know. And a lot of times you say that's too much, but then we'll go buy something else. and give it. You can buy whatever you want with your money, but you could have took some of that money or a percentage and invested back into yourself, whether it's your business, whether it's your professional development, whether it's your mental health status. So don't forget to invest in yourself like you invest in somebody else, right? Because I usually say the difference between you working for somebody and working for you or building your family legacy, right? Because the company that you work for, you're either going to build their dream or you're going to build your own. And this isn't to say everybody should be a business owner, because we know that is not true, but it's going to say that that same emphasis that you can put into working for them. If you have your own business, put that into working for yourself as well too, in your family. So Megan, tell us how you became this great tax professional. Tell us about your past and how you're now to your present.
Oh, okay. So past is a little bit crazy. I was actually a teen mom. So I got pregnant when I was 16 and had my daughter and had to figure out what career I was going to go into. And I had a knack for accounting. So that was kind of why I went into that field. And I knew I could make money and support my daughter at the time. So I went to school for it and got my bachelor's. And to make a really long story shorter, basically met my husband or my ex-husband at work, got a full-time job, had my second child, decided not to go back to work full-time. So I got a job as a bookkeeper at a landscaping company. The other job called me back, worked there part-time, did that for about 2 years and got laid off of both of the jobs. And that's kind of how I started my business. I kind of fell into it. It was unexpected, but I needed to be able to help support my family and thought I could do the bookkeeping for that company. I could probably do it for other companies. So long story shorter, ended up getting into it, built my network, started growing the business. 8 years in now, I have 4 kids, divorced, or almost divorced. That was a hard situation too. I actually found out my ex-husband was molesting my daughter. And so that is part of my story as well. It's publicly shared, but that was what really helped drive the passion behind my business as well, because my business was my livelihood and it allowed me to be able to take the time off to spend with my kids. When I found out, I was 7 months pregnant with my youngest. I had a 10-month-old, a 6-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And my world blew up, but I was able to take the time to heal and provide for my kids and be there for them because I had my business. And that honestly is what drives like this consistent, the processes and innovations that we put behind Sidekick. We do bookkeeping differently. We don't just crunch the numbers. We come alongside our clients to help them really learn how to use their numbers so that they can grow profitable and successful companies, because there's a way to do it. There's a method to being able to do that. Knowing your profit margins, budgeting, planning, those things are super important to being able to create a business that works for you instead of you working for it. Because too often people start businesses, but they wind up on the same paycheck to paycheck, month to month cycle that you do when you have a job. So like being able to understand what those numbers actually mean, being able to make decisions as a CEO versus just as somebody doing the motions is really important to being able to create a business that supports your life. And then, the other side of that then is like, you're able to invest and leave a legacy, but then you're also able to give back, so like one of the passions that I have is fostering, because there's so many kids that are in foster care that end up in the same situations like my daughter, but they don't have anybody like me, like a parent to support them, so that's one of the driving factors. Like as my business continues to grow, like that's a big passion of mine, is to be able to get to a point where in some capacity I'm able to help in that area of life. But then there's also, sexual abuse advocacy, and legislation that needs to change and all of that. So you're able to pour back in when you're successful as well. So all those things that combine is really the driving passion behind what we do at Sidekick, and why I continue to do this and continue to grow as a business. And I have employees now in a bigger team, and we're continuing to grow and make moves. And it's a journey. It's definitely not for everybody, but there's a way to do it right. And there's a way that you can make it work for you to really make an impact in your family, but also far above that as well.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Megan. Even in the midst of all that, you are continuing to help people, to educate, to keep it together. And in a world where that could have knocked down everything that you had going on and backtracked you, you used it to gain strength. And then the way of fostering other babies, there are so many out there that will love, and to me, be blessed to have somebody like you to take them in and help them through some of the most difficult times of their life. So thank you for even sharing that, because I know that's very personal, but I do believe that it helps somebody too. And that's why I say this show is never scripted. It's transparent. We have conversations on everything from A to Z. Even though we're talking about credit, sometimes it can tie into something else. So you never know who's listening, and this may be a help call for them as well too. Nikisha, tell us about your past and what got you to your now as well.
Well, I always like to tell people that my journey through entrepreneurship was a happy accident. It definitely was not something that was planned. My background is corporate. I was working in corporate America in legal and finance, and I was very happy utilizing my degrees. And I was doing a little bit of the grant writing, but I was doing it for people that I knew. I was not publicizing it because I had a real job. So I was at a networking event, and one of my peers introduced me to someone who needed a grant writer. And so I'm kind of giving him the side eye, like, I don't do this for people I don't know. But their friend, he was really kind of pulled at my heartstrings. I was like, hey, we've been going for this grant from the state. It's the only grant we go for. We've got rejected every year we've gone for. We don't know what's going on. We don't have money to keep shelling out for a grant writer without getting any results. Can you just look at it? So I took it, I looked at it, I ended up rewriting it, and they submitted it, and they ended up getting a grant. So they're elated, they're over the moon.
Wow.
But a week later, I'm getting emails from them who have copied other people, and they're like, hey, she helped us, she can help you. And I'm like, no, I can't. I have a job. So
they like, no.
Right. So it was a matter of me now going back and forth between I'm working 10 and 12-hour days in corporate America and coming home and doing 4 to 6 hours of work helping people with grant writing. And the only reason that I did it is because I really have, my heart goes out to any individual that is doing something to make somebody else's life better. And that's what you find with a lot of people running nonprofits. Well, those who are really doing it for a mission-based purpose. So I can tell when I talk to people if they're doing it from a money perspective or if they're doing it from a mission perspective. And when, you talk to people and they're saying that they've taken money from their 401k to, put into this company because there's people that need this service who aren't getting it, it's hard to say, well, I can't help you. Right. So I was battling that, going back and forth between corporate life and entrepreneur life, so to speak. And I was like, okay, something has to give. I can't keep burning myself out on both ends. So I spoke to, my significant other, prayed about it, and walked away from corporate America. And I was like, I'm going to do this full time. And so here we are now, 3 years later. And listen, when I first did it, I'm talking to my parents, and growing up, my dad was like the disciplinarian and my mom was like the one that kind of bailed us out of everything. And then when we got into teenagers, they kind of switched roles. So my dad became I'm gonna bail you guys out. My mom became disciplinarian. So my mom was like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Why would you give up of your 401k and a job with benefits and you have kids in private school? What are you thinking? And my dad was like, you got this. So now my mom is like, I knew you could do it. And I'm like,
I know they be our biggest fans though, our mom.
Right.
They tell us off.
Right. So, it worked out. But one of the things that I brought with me, I took a lot from corporate America. One of the things I took was my networking. I learned right away in corporate America, just like we always do, relationships, don't burn bridges because you never know when you're going to cross them. So there were a lot of relationships and networks that I took from my corporate America job that transferred over into this job that has really made it the success that it is. Being in corporate America, I was the one who reached out to one of my directors and kind of got it in with her. And she was the one that actually put me on my first nonprofit board. So she gave me that experience of working with nonprofits so that I could have a better understanding of how they ran. Because I knew I wanted to serve and give back, but I had no idea that it was going to come full circle, that me serving on these boards, now I'm helping other individuals build theirs and, help them sustain their own nonprofits.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I know we jam packed a lot, but I want to touch on because a lot of times we learning this as adults, right? And so for those individuals now that have children, because I often say, I don't want them to go through the path that I went through. I want them to be educated, beforehand. So if any youth are listening or parents with youth, what are some tips that we can give them that goes hand in hand, even if we're talking about the Texas? Because I know a lot of young people who have businesses now, Megan or Lamont, like what age can they start building credit for their children? And then Keisha, how does the grant writing tie into those young entrepreneurs or people of that fashion as well too? So at any time, just jump in, Red Robin.
So,
Go
so
ahead.
I think for
I'm
me,
on y'all. Okay.
yeah, you should have called us, but because we all ready to go.
Yeah, like
For me, like when it comes to building credit and things like that, it's certain cards you can put your kids on as early as 13. So I have two 22-year-olds. They both at a 723, 721, right? That's because I put them on my cards as an authorized user as well as build positive accounts for them, right? That's so important. You can put your kids on there, but make sure you pay your bills on time. Otherwise, that's going to affect them as well. And when it comes to businesses, for me, I created an LLC for my kids. He 8. When he get 18, he gonna have a 10-year-old business. Now, my goal is always to get to the lender's table, right? So with a 10-year-old business, and when he get 18 with a 750 credit score, he can go and sit at U.S. Bank and talk to them about giving them $50,000 to do whatever it is he want to do when it comes to business.
Oh, you're muted.
She muted. She muted.
Is it coming through now?
Yep, there we
They're
go.
gonna be all tributes when this go live. But I was also saying, as a parent, you don't have to give them that card, right? Like we got young people, we want to help build their credit. I got mine on cards. They do not have the cards physically, nor do they have the numbers to the card because I'm helping them to build something. And sometimes in order to help somebody, you got to help them in a way that doesn't give them physical placement of it, right? Because then they'll say, even my son, when he was younger, he used to always be like, well, you can just put it on your card when we would go place. And I was like, what card? But he knew about credit cards. But you can add them without physically giving them the card. And it's put them on a card that you go pay every month. Or like Nikisha say, you paying it off. Like if you go help them, truly help them, but build their credit from a young age. And I know some places start at 13, some is 14, and some is 16 as well too. Even with getting them a checking account, like all of mine had one ever since I believe they was 14. But even helping them to acknowledge what does that mean and how to do the checking account as well too. Lamont, you was going to jump in?
Yeah. So even with the checking account, right, y'all, when it comes time to getting to the lender's table, it's about relationships. Right? We just talked about that. You getting your kid a checking account. Chase actually have debit cards for kids, right? And things like that. Get them a checking account with Chase. When they get 18 years old, they have a great relationship with a bank. You get what I'm saying? That's so important. A lot of times we want stuff like this, the microwave. Those times when you want somebody else's money, like you're not gonna get it without a relationship, right? So I can ask Miss Taylor Legacies for $100, and she may say, "Oh, all right, man, I got you," right? But if I ask Megan, like, I don't even know you, bro, right? I'm not right, because that relationship is not there, right?
Right.
It's important to build relationships. I'm sorry, I can rap.
No, that's good. That's what this is for. So Megan, when I think about young entrepreneurs or children, teaching them ways, how does that work into the world of taxes and things of that nature? Because we do have a lot of entrepreneurs, even if they have a lemonade stand, right? We have a lot of young entrepreneurs I've seen nowadays.
Yeah, and I mean, like we see clients, a lot of times their business money spending habits or management habits are a reflection of their personal money management habits, so being able to educate and help your children understand like what income is and what expenses are and, not going above what you're bringing in, not spending above what you're bringing in is a really important base of it. So just like that respect of it. And if you're children have an operating business, they should be filing taxes, so to build up that history, like Lamont was saying, like a lot of times banks are looking at when the business started, but they also want to see tax returns, to reflect that. So having those taxes prepared for them build on top of that that historical record and credibility and growth. You know, being able to show the growth of it is another big factor for business funders. You know, like they want to see many different factors when they're talking about lending to you. And the other side of this, though, is if you have a business as a parent, one of the tax strategies you can leverage is paying your kids. Like you can pay
your babies, baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hire them. You got to do it right though. So you can't just like pay the money. They got to have a job description and need to have timesheets. But and there's a certain way to pay them so that you don't have to deduct Social Security and Medicare taxes. But you can pay your kids up to $12,000 a year, and that's a business expense that you get to use that money for things you're already paying for. You can use it to pay for daycare and clothes, and you can invest it too. You can get a Roth IRA for your kids at a certain age as well, and they can use that to buy investment properties. Like the possibilities really are like endless. Like they really are, as long as you know a little bit about what needs to happen and have people on your team, you know. So like this isn't stuff that you should be implementing yourself. Like hire Lamont, hire us, or another accountant that knows what they're talking about, or Nikisha with the grants. Like have people on your team to be able to do this. Like that's what all these big guys do. They have people that are on their team that are looking into these areas of expertise so that they can leverage it. So it's important that we all do that as well. And it kind of goes back to that investing in yourself. Hiring and delegating is an investment into yourself, especially when you have a business. You can only do so much as a business owner. You got to start delegating and building your team out if you really want to elevate to the next level.
Hey, listen, and I want you guys to really listen to the knowledge and the nuggets that they are dropping. Lamont, adding them to that card. Megan, hey, making sure you're taking that business credit, and there's a legit way that you can pay your baby so that they do have a job, but you can also get credits back. And if you have any type of businesses, making sure that you're filing the taxes or the paperwork that you're doing to make sure that you have that compound and that history, right? When you're looking for banks or credit unions or things of that nature to give money to you. And so, Nikisha, is there an age limit on when a person can apply for a grant or a loan? And then how, if it's a young entrepreneur or a child, how can that work with getting them either a loan or writing for a grant for them? Do they need a successor or something like that?
There is an age limit because you think of grants and loans as being contracts, and you can't legally enter a contract until you're 18. So that is one thing I try to stress to individuals. You know, there is grants, but I mean, it's not even about so much looking for grants, you know, just entrepreneurship grants. You know, I tell parents all the time, you know, especially parents that have kids going to school, there's money out there that your kids can literally get just for being themselves. And they don't have to have a certain GPA. They don't have to be involved in extracurricular activities. You know, there is grant money out there to get them to school, because, you know, a lot of times when we think about higher education, we think about the debt that comes on with higher education. So, you know, a lot of kids are first-time college students, and they're going into college and they're relying on, you know, the financial aid. And a lot of that financial aid isn't Pell Grants. It isn't scholarships. It's money that they have to come pay back. And then they're coming out of school with jobs that aren't going to sustain their lifestyle, let alone pay back those loans. Right. So, you know, understanding the importance of grants and utilizing them to leverage, you know, continuing education. You know, we talk about, you know, our kids. One thing that I've always stressed with my kids, you know, I was fortunate. So I'm not trying to give my kids everything I didn't have, but I'm trying to give them everything I did plus more. So one of the things that I did was when my kids went off to college was, you know, putting them on a credit card, but making sure that they already had that credit education before they got the credit card, so they understand, you know, how credit works and the importance of credit. And now with my 3 audits, it's like a competition with them, who can have the highest FICO score, you know, so they're texting each other in group chat, like, you know, my credit score just went out. I'm at an 800.
Come through, babies, with the FICO score. Yes. Love it.
So it's become competitive to them. And now my 16-year-old is like, I can't wait to get my first credit because my first credit card, because my credit score has to be higher than all y'all's. So, you know, also making it fun, you know, just teaching kids that, you know, education, whether it's education in school or financial literacy, it doesn't have to be something that you're scared of, that you're terrified of, that, you know, oh my God, here it comes to talk, you know, something else for me to learn, or something they roll their eyes at, but, making it fun for them, that this is a way that they're building their own wealth for, and setting themselves and their future up,
Right.
so having those conversations, like my parents told me when I was younger, Black people don't come into this world, with money. You have your credit and you have relationships, and you mess any of those up and you done. So making sure you keep your relationships, your reputation, and your credit in check, is a way that you're going to ensure that you're able to do the things that you want to do. But yeah, just going back to grants, I've worked with a couple of young people who have, started businesses for themselves, because, we're in the age where a lot of young people, they don't want to work for anybody. They want to be entrepreneurs. Right. So whether it's a t-shirt company,
Absolutely.
an eyelash company, just understanding that, as Lamont mentioned earlier, making other people's money work for you. But as we also talked about throughout this conversation, also investing in yourself. I'm always a person that's always been, I have my lane, I'm gonna stay in it. My lane is not marketing. My lane is not, so much of what Megan does. So for me, I'm gonna pay people who understand what their lanes are and make sure that they are people who are going to work for me. Because when you look at your company, it's not about what you see, but it's also what people on the outside are looking at. So if I'm building those relationships, what is the image that people get when they go to my website, or what is the image that people get when they go to my social media? That's not something I want to deal with, and I don't want to take shortcuts in. Yes, I might have a cousin who's very good at posting stuff on social media, but if I have a company that has made millions and they have a reputation for doing it, spending that money, investing in that company to make sure that my image is what I want it to be when people see it. Because you only get one chance to make that first impression.
One shot. Yep, that's good.
You did, and you touched on so many nuggets.
That's good.
And we talk about that when we say, "Hey, my cousin so and so know how to do this," or "My friend know how." And that's not to say, because I do believe in, if your friends or somebody have a business and it can work for you, then I believe that you can do business with them. But if it's not going to help you, and you're just doing it because you know them, but it's not giving you what it needs to give, right, for your business to enhance or enlarge your territory, then that doesn't mean that you can't help them by referring somebody else. That just means that it does not work for me. So I often say, how is that going to align with my business, and how does it enhance or enlarge my territory? Because if it's not doing it for me, I'm not going to short kick for you too, but hey, somebody else may be able to benefit or utilize the work that you do, right? And it's about building those bridges and saying, hey, I can refer somebody to you, or I can tell somebody else about you, and maybe it may work for them, but this is not going to work for me, right? So there's a way to say it too, because you want to make sure, like you said, your image and that first impression and the work that you're doing is an example and a resemblance of you, right?
Right.
And so as we beginning to close it out and come back together, I want you guys to, one, tell people once again your name, how they can get in touch with you as well too. And then I want you to leave them with some imparting words, whatever you feel like you want to, whether it's about the work that you do or them reaching out to you, or something that you feel like in this day and age, somebody needs to hear or know. And so in no particular order, however y'all want to do it.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. So again, I'm Nikisha Adams. If you want to reach me, my website is www.scribbleinc, and the Scribble is with a K, so SKRIBBLEINC.com. You can contact me on Facebook, also Scribble Inc., or you can contact me by phone, 414-208-4787. And I would just tell anybody that no matter where you're starting, look at where you want to end. Don't put yourself inside a box. A lot of times when we're starting, we think of ourselves as just the city that we're in, but don't be afraid to, expand and think of, outside of the box. You're so much bigger than Milwaukee. You're so much bigger than Wisconsin, and your brand should be reflective of that.
I like that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Well, I guess I can go next. So I'm Megan Schwan. I'm the CEO of Sidekick Accounting, and our website is www.sidekick-accounting.com. Otherwise, you can also call or text. The number is 414-310-7689. And I guess the thing that I would probably like to leave words with is that when it comes to business or life in general, but especially business and business owners, is you really have to be intentional, So like if you want your business to grow, or if you want to get out of, the situations that you're in, you have to be intentional about it. Being a business owner is a lot about discipline. You got to be disciplined to show up. You got to be disciplined to do the things you might not want to do. Eventually, hopefully, you'll be able to do the things you want to do more than the things you don't. But especially when you're first starting out, there are things you just have to do in order to build your business to that next level. So being intentional is super important. Make the plans, make your goals, work backwards, and revisit those goals often. Shift them, adjust them, but be intentional about what you're doing. And that's really the way that we all can be successful, is by that intentionality.
Thank you
Nice.
as well.
So I would say, to people that's watching and things like that, your dreams is tired of competing with your distractions,
Mhm.
right? So many things distract us from our goals and our dreams, our aspirations, and things like that. You have to put things in their proper perspective. Like, I have friends that I don't talk to, but I love them from afar because what you're doing don't align with where I'm trying to go. You get what I'm saying? A lot of times we hold on to people, and man, God say let it go, because they holding you back. I'm sorry, y'all. That was just on my mind, right? But again, I'm Lamont Smith, Credit Guy MKE. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Credit Guy MKE. I actually have a get the bag, leverage the bag, and protect the bag workshop coming up in the city, 8700 West Brown Deer. You can text me at 262-228-6087. What else? I got a lot going on, y'all. I'm sorry, but I ain't gonna even go through all that. I really do. I got a book coming out with my 8-year-old son about financial literacy for kids his age, right? That's so important to me because didn't nobody teach me that when I was younger. I had to learn it on my own, right? So yeah, just follow me, get at me, whatever you have questions about. I do free consultations. I look at your credit and show you exactly what you need to do to take it to the next level, right? Whether you sign up with me, do it yourself, or sign up with somebody, man, fix your credit, right?
Absolutely.
Fix your credit, because that's going to take you places. Trust me.
Thank you all for that. And then for those that's watching it, as it's going to go live, I'm going to do $50 towards each services. Like, we'll pick somebody in there. So it's going to be the first person who comments, the 5th person who comments, and the 12th person who comments, right? And so depending on what they need, whether it's Megan, Lamont, or Nikisha, I'll give the money to you all. So Megan, Nikisha, and Lamont would get the money, but then the person will be connected to you for $50 off of their services. I truly thank you guys for coming on. The knowledge that you have is, man, it's great. It's inspiring. And I'm gonna come back to you right quick. But people need to make sure that we're working within groups, right? And because I know I can't do the things that you all do, I want to make sure that I'm helping to get those individuals to you, but that I'm also myself. Like, I don't bring just anybody on the show. Got a baby in the background. I'm often led, but also if I put my name and brand behind them, it's because I believe in what they do, right? And I believe in what you're doing, because I couldn't pay you what you're worth. I can pay something towards your service to help somebody get there. Lamont, what were you gonna say?
Nope, I'm gonna match you $50. So
Okay.
I'm gonna match your $50.
Thank you. Look, you
I'm
guys.
gonna match
Just
as
worked it
well.
out.
I'm going to
I
match
can
as
also
well.
do that as well.
Because the goal is really to help the people. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Yes.
I always tell people, money gonna follow me because I do right by God's people, right?
Yes.
So if that's the goal, hey, let's just do it. So that's why I said I met you.
Thank you. So y'all heard it. See? So y'all better make sure when y'all hitting them comments, that 1st, that 5th, and that 12th person, and we're gonna see which service do you need, right? Because I don't want you just saying, hey, I want to go get that. If that's not what you need at this point in time, don't take that service, because somebody else needs that blessing, right? So I'm all about that too, because it's a lot of things that I come from. Nikisha tell you, and she'll tell me like, hey, that grant ain't for you, so there's no need to apply for it, right? She didn't have to say that, because she can get paid for a grant she know that doesn't align with what I'm doing, but because she's about her business and her mission, she want to make sure it's right. The same as Megan and Lamont. So I truly thank you guys for coming on. I know I've worked with most of you, not Megan yet, but believe me, I'm coming towards you. I thank you for coming on. I thank you for helping our community. And like Nikisha said, we ain't thinking locally, we thinking statewide, national, and international for the work that you do. Thank you for being you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy lives to come on the Taylor Talk Show. You are the best part of this talk show, believe me. Have a great night. Be well. And y'all remember, the 1st, the 5th, and the 12th person that comments